Hey, this is Mark Henry, author of Dancing with Energy, Healing, Magic, and Mysticism, here to talk to you more about the occult and the paranormal. Well, today I'm going to be talking about Merlin's place in Magick. Before I begin, I just want to kind of remind you that I have an Etsy store and that I am offering attunements, basic spiritual imprints so that you can carry the energy vibration of a particular entity like an angel, demon, god, goddess. I add to the store each week. I just added Hallfast, which is an entity that is responsible for helping you actualize your ambition. I just put Jupiter, very good for money and expanding good things in your life. I also just put Merlin. Since we're talking about him today, I decided to, if we're going to talk about him, we might as well, if anybody wants to work with that energy, to go ahead and do that. But let's go ahead and get started. So check that out, favorite it. Feel free to buy an attunement. You get an instruction manual to learn how to do it. So, in any case, let's get on to the story. So, the video discusses Merlin's place and application in Magick. So, if by the way, if you want to see a classic movie about Merlin and Arthur, check out Excalibur. 1981. It has actors in it that are now famous, but who were not famous back then. So you'll see a lot of familiar faces. You'll see Patrick Stewart, who later became popular in Star Trek: The Next Generation. We have Gabriel Byrne, Liam Neeson, who of course you know from, he's been in like, Jesus, I read his biography. It's something like 70 movies, I think, at this point. And the lovely Helen Mirren, who plays Morgan Le Fay. So check that out if you like it. It's based on the old stories from Thomas Malory, Les Morts d'Arthur, if I'm saying the French right. Forgive my French. He and Geoffrey Monmouth, were experts in British folklore and legends and wrote about him. And of course, there were other writers at that time. But that collection of writings is how we know about Merlin. So let's talk a little bit more about Merlin and who he is. So who is he? Well, if we follow the writings, they say that Merlin was born from a mortal woman who was a nun and an incubus, sometimes even referred to as a demon. So as you're reading these things, you can see that Merlin, from conception, is magical, that he has strong forces of light and darkness within him. Now, what we know from him, from the Arthurian legends, has to do with when he takes the baby Merlin and he takes him away from his parents. Now, the backstory of that was, you have the Duke of Cornwall, who was married to a lady named Igraine, and Arthur's father, Uther, wanted Igraine. So what he did was he got Merlin to cast a kind of a love/deception spell, so that he could go to Igraine. She would think that's her husband, and then they would have a night of passion. And Merlin did this, and he afterwards regretted it. Igraine had a child. It was Arthur. To protect Arthur from his father, King Uther's enemies, he took him away and gave him to Sir Ector and his son, Sir Kay. So Arthur thought that, that was his father. He didn't know Uther or Igraine or any of that. Time went on. You find that young Arthur is training and the whole sword and stone thing, which we all know about. He pulls the sword out, and he becomes King Arthur. Later, how this relates to Merlin is that Merlin became his advisor in Camelot and the Knights of the Round Table and all of that. So we see that through these adventures, Merlin practiced a lot of magic on Arthur's behalf. And one of the things that he's known for is not only casting magic, but having sorcery students. So one of his students was Morgan Le Fay, which was Arthur's half-sister, who, so that means that she was the daughter of Igraine, but that she and Arthur had a different father. Her father was killed right, I think before Arthur was born. I believe that might have been part of Merlin's magic for Uther to go and seduce Igraine and then Duke of Cornwall to be killed. But in any case, Merlin had sorcery students, which was Morgan Le Fay. So when we look at, whenever you want to know about a particular entity, spirit or god, goddess, however you want to refer to it, you look at the mythology. What is it that they're good at? What are their weaknesses? And if, as a magician, what is it that you want to tune into? What is it that you want the spirit entity to bring about in you? Because you're going to connect with them, and what is it that you desire? And there are certain entities that are good for some things, not so good for other things, and each has their specialty. In a way, it's kind of like people. People have their strengths and weaknesses. So when we're talking about Merlin, what is it that he is known for? So just from the brief history I'm giving to you, what we know is that Merlin is good at magic, of course. He is good at shape-shifting. And he's also good at imparting wisdom and teaching of magic. So let's say that you wanted to approach Merlin and use him in magic. These would be the things that you'd want to look at. There are certain things that I have gone to Merlin for, these types of things, and I've found that just like whenever you approach an entity, that your experience may be a little bit different. It may have a little different flavor, because a lot of times these entities, you are different than the next person, and that what might be good for you and what might work may be slightly different. So it has a different flavor to it. So, what can we learn from Merlin? I find that if you look at Merlin as a magician, and he's a magician 24 hours a day. There isn't any stories about him going out and becoming a carpenter, 5 days a week from 8 to 4:30. That is just what he is. That is what he does, and that is his thing. So I find that Merlin, interacting with him, it has taught me lessons, and it could teach you lessons by interacting with him about how to integrate magic in all aspects of your life. How do you touch it? How do you see the world in a magical way? And that the same way that Merlin looked at the world in a magical way. The second lesson I think is useful is that if you look at the movies and the stories about Merlin, you'll find he's a magician, but he also makes mistakes. He also has foibles, and that is important too. That as magicians, we sometimes make poor choices based on our own humanity, and that is perfectly okay. Happened with Merlin, Some say it happened with Jesus losing faith on the cross. So we are not exempt from imperfection. Now personally, I find that Merlin has taught me what's called emotional transmutation. And that is the ability to take emotions that I guess one would consider, although feelings are valid, negative, maybe unpleasant, extreme anger, irritability, sadness, taking all those feelings and then shifting them into something else, maybe something more resourceful, something more useful, something more pleasant. And I've actually used this with the energy of Merlin through attunements and things, of actually taking my hands and moving them through my energy field, grasping those emotions, putting them in the ball, because we talk about the energy ball, and letting them transform into something else, something, like I said, that is something you want to experience, and maybe even putting back in as a better emotion, a better resource, taking it, and if it was something you wanted, like more prosperity, that could be the intention, that could be the feeling of imagining yourself aligned with that type of thing, and then sending it off. Or, if you don't even want to do that, taking it, leaving it as it is, whether it's desperation or other type of feeling, and taking it and throwing it into the ground for neutralization. Either way, you're taking this burden off of you, this feeling, and you're doing something with it. That's important. Because magic is also a state of mind, and you have to be in the right state of mind to do these types of things. So, emotional transmutation, that is one of the things that I learned from Merlin. And by the way, one thing I didn't mention, if you are somebody, prophecy is another one of his gifts. So if you are a card reader, or you do runes or anything like that, you can certainly use that Merlin power in order to enhance that. Okay, that is about all I have for you right now. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, learning a little bit about Merlin, and maybe an introduction about how to work with them. Just to remind you too, is that if you want more videos like this, sometimes I have second parts of videos. I have them on my Patreon. In fact, I put coffee as an offering, part 2. That is on my Patreon, along with quick and dirty principles regarding the tarot, since I've been doing a lot of tarot videos. That's on Patreon too. I'll put a link in the description. Check out the Etsy store for the attunements. Please subscribe and like, and I will see you in a future video. Take care.